All right. So those in the room heard good morning. Hopefully those now virtually have heard my good morning and welcome. My name is Angela Jamondes mentioned, and for those who have not met before, I serve as the Bureau Chief of the Real Estate Appraisers for the state of California. And I find it truly a privilege to welcome such dedicated, diverse group of professionals, stakeholders, and thought leaders. Your presence here today reflects a shared commitment of strengthening California's appraisals landscape to which it remains fair, accessible, and responsive to the evolving needs of the communities and the industry itself. We are convening today as a part of a strategic planning process and in response to the legislative sunset bill. Your perspectives are essential to influencing BRIA. Your input will help guide our priorities and inform the policies, programs, and regulatory approaches we're pursuing in the next 5 years. So our purpose today is to hear from you. My executive leaders, my legal counsel, our administrative staff are here because we want to get and collect all your questions and your comments. We're here to hear directly from those of you who are in it day to day, working in this industry. And we know that there's continuously evolving needs. Your input will help guide us, and we know that it's important to hear from you. And so we have a lot of important topics today on this agenda. We're exploring enhancing access to licensure, evaluating California statute of mandatory versus non-mandatory state, strengthening the enforcement tools, and improving our communications with you who are the stakeholders and the public. Each of the topics play a critical role in the health and the integrity of our profession. So we ask you to share openly, boldly, and respectfully to each other. This is called a town hall, but the reality, we truly want it to be a listening forum, so we do want you to understand that we're asking you to understand that we will be collecting and not exchanging, except at the beginning of the topics by the executive leaders here. They'll share some topics and then we'll open it up to you. This way, we don't get caught up in too long in one area and not make it to the end. So with that said, do know that we respectfully will collect everything that's been shared here and respond to everything that we hear. So with that said, our format is going to be simple. We have our mighty team from Department of Consumer Affairs, through the leadership of Trisha St. Clair, who will be our moderator here in the room, as well as Ann Fisher, who's moderating online, and our technical guru in the back, Shelley Jones, who will take care of anything that we run into. We promise you that this will be exciting because we believe that you've been waiting for a while, and we look forward to this and continue more opportunities to speak with all of you today. Thank you for your presence, and we look forward to the dialogue. So with that, I turn it over to Trisha.
Thank you so much. So as the Bureau Chief stated, today the Bureau of Real Estate Appraisers will be presenting information, and they want your input. So today is not a question and answer session, it's not a discussion, it's just an opportunity to receive your input. So after each topic is presented, we'll have a 30-minute time period where people can respond to 3 questions I'll be saying, and you can respond to all of them or just one of them. And for people in the room, you'll just go up to that table. We'll give, if they're, all of you want to talk, we can give you numbers so you know your order. So we'll take a comment from the room first, and then we'll move to online. There's a 3-minute time limit. We'll give you a 30-second warning, but you can get back in line. The time limit is simply to make sure as many people as possible get a chance to speak. If it gets to be 15 minutes and we're still on people in the room, I will switch to the people online to make sure both get an equal opportunity to make their comments. And with that, I will hand it to Anne, our online moderator.
Good morning. So when it does come to the opportunity for the commenting, there are some instructions I can give you, and I'll show those on the screen each public comment period. But we will be giving, as Tricia mentioned, 3 minutes per speaker with a 30-second warning, so you can start wrapping your thoughts up. And we will be going in the order of who raised their hand first. I spoke about the hand raise icon, which is typically at the bottom of your WebEx screen if you're on a computer, or if you're on a mobile device, the hand might be behind the 3-dot other options. And if you are a call-in user, you may press *3 to raise your hand. So we will go as in order received as best we can, but we do have a time limit. So if we don't get a chance to get to everyone, we hope that you will use the QR code that is in the corner of the slide, or if you'd like to look in the chat, we do have the survey address there, and you can contribute your thoughts online that way. So I will turn that back to, I believe, Deputy Bureau Chief of Licensing and Administration, Mujeeb Katir.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today and for joining this important conversation about the future of the real estate appraiser profession. I will be starting us off with a discussion on pathways to licensure, which really gets to the heart of sustaining the appraisal profession in California. Without a strong and steady pipeline of new appraisers, our communities risk losing access to the fair, independent, and competent valuation services that are so vital to the real estate market and to the public at large. Traditionally, most appraisers have entered the profession through the supervisor training model. In this system, a certified appraiser mentors a trainee, providing oversight on the job learning. It's a model that has produced many successful professionals, but it's no secret that it comes with challenges. Trainees often struggle to find the supervisors willing to take them on. Supervisors, in turn, face added responsibility and limited incentives. And there are concerns about the consistency of training quality. These bottlenecks make it harder for people to join the profession and harder for the profession to keep pace with demand. That's why there is growing interest in alternative pathways. One promising option is practicum programs, which blend academic instruction with supervised real-world fieldwork. I am proud to share that RIA recently approved the first real estate appraisal practicum program in California, a milestone that opens a new door for aspiring appraisers. Another major development is PRIA, the practical application of real estate appraisal. PRIA uses technology and structured coursework to replicate real-world appraisal practice, giving trainees standardized, hands-on experience without relying solely on a supervisor. Looking ahead, RIA is committed to expanding these options. We want to support the rollout of PRIA, encourage additional practical programs across the state, as we already have 2 more practicums in the pipeline. And at the same time, strengthen the supervisor model, whether that means clearer guidance, more support, or incentives for supervisors. Above all, our focus is to make sure every pathway maintains rigor and quality, while also improving access and opportunity. The updated appraisal qualification board criteria will take effect on January 1st, 2026. Key changes include new qualifying and continuing education requirements focused on valuation bias and fair housing. However, the total number of continuing education hours remains at 28 every 2 years. Another major change is the removal of the 5 attempt cap on national examination. BRIA is actively working to align California regulations with these new AQB requirements prior to the implementation date, which is January 1st, 2026. Your inputs today will be critical in shaping our strategic plan and ensuring a strong future for the appraisal profession in California. Thank you, and I pass it to Tricia.
All right, so as I stated before, I have 3 questions to get the comments started. We'll have 30 minutes. You'll have 3 minutes to give your comment. We'll give you a 30-second warning, and you can speak multiple times. So I'll just read the 3 questions, and our online moderator can also show the questions in the PowerPoint as well. So the first question is, what barriers to licensure have you seen or experienced, and how can BRIA help address them? The second one is, how can we better support supervisors so they feel more able and willing to mentor trainees? And the third one is, what opportunities or concerns do you see with alternative pathways like PRIA and practicum models? So we'll start with people in the room. If anyone would like to speak, you can just go to that table, and the microphone from the, we call this the hub, will pick up your voice.
Good morning, my name is Katie Keeler. I'm an education director with REA Appraisers here in Sacramento. Would you consider some type of an incentive to supervisors to take on trainees? You don't know what that looks like. Could be a discount on their fees, but something that would help them. Because a lot of times supervisors will not train because they think it takes away from their business. And I would like to hear more about the practicum, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, in Southern Cal. Is there, have I missed it? Is it on the webpage or something where I can look it up? Because I would like to know more about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment? Please come forward.
Good morning. My name is Jim Glickman. I'm here as an individual. I'm a certified general appraiser, and I'm an educator. I also was formerly with an assessor's office, which brings me to my comment. Back in 2024, your office had undergone some conversations with the California Association of Assessors regarding allowing or experience earned by or gained by appraisers on assessor staff. At the time, you were looking at rewriting some language into your laws and regulations, and I'm just asking, has any progress been made to look at a path for experience for appraisers that work in assessors' offices? Historically, a long time ago, a lot of people started in the assessor's office, gained their experience, became appraisers before licensing. Ironically, now, as written, no experience is allowed while working in the assessor's office unless it's compliant with use path, which serves as a barrier because assessors do not do their work that is necessarily compliant with use path unless it's mass appraising. But they also do individual appraising. So there, I put that to your board. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is John Damon. I'm a California credential appraiser. I'm also the chief appraiser for an appraisal management company licensed by Brea, but I'm here speaking on behalf of myself. I'm also an educator, and so I think for my purposes, and I appreciate Jim's comment about alternate pathways for workforce, the California recognizes if I want to obtain a broker's license, for example, all I need to be is a salesperson, sure, and I need experience there. There's some requirements around that. However, my experience hours can also be gained from other things that are affiliated with that, whether that's home inspections, et cetera. So I think there's some validity to that argument. Additionally, as an educator, going through instructor development workshops, we're often reminded that learners learn differently. And so I think that while the traditional model of the supervisory appraiser worked for me, and it probably worked for many folks in this room, it may not necessarily work for all. And so looking at alternate pathways, whether it's the Practicum, PREA, others, would be prudent. In addition, I think there is, and I'm trying to get some clarity, I do not believe that the Federal Registry or the licensing laws ever required within FREA for the experience hours. So I think they just required that you pass the exam for licensing. So that is an additional barrier that we created as states, every state, as an overlay.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room would like to come up? All right. So we'll move online to take questions from online. If our online moderator, Anne, can open up the WebEx.
Certainly. And I do have some raised hands. So first we'll take our call-in user from the 858 area code. You can press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, wonderfully.
Okay, great. My name is Bernard, certified residential appraiser here in San Diego. I am calling on behalf of, I guess, myself and other new appraisers. I have been certified since July 2025, and my real concern is what initiatives or what are things that can be done to ensure that newer appraisers are actually able to stay in the industry and receive work. That's been one of the biggest areas of concern amongst all appraisers that I know that are under 35 is we're not fully immersed still in the appraisal industry, working side jobs or doing other things to kind of help compensate because we are kind of being told the same genre. Like AMPs are not accepting new appraisers, things of that nature. So I'm just trying to see if maybe there's something we can add into the education or if there's other initiatives that can be done to ensure that the new appraisers that are coming in are able to stay in the industry. A lot of us have been forced out, and this could be higher.
All right, that was your comment? Perfect, great, thank you very much. We do have some other, let's see, commenters with hands raised. Let's go ahead and to let everyone know, if you do have problems with the hearing people, there is the closed caption option, and there are a couple people who've reported that that's not working well for them either, but just remember, speak up, please. Let's see, our next comment from online is from John Davis. And John, I'm going to send you a request to unmute your microphone, and you'll have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. And John Davis, I don't know if you fell out of the meeting, unfortunately. Oh no, there you are. John, I'm going to send you a request again. You should be able to click the unmute me icon. It's a pop-up. All right, and if you do have problems, the chat is open if you'd like to put your chat in there. And as a reminder, this is not an open discussion or back and forth. If you ask questions, the panel is just accepting input and not answering back and forth. John, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
A longtime appraiser. I appreciate what BREA is doing. Currently I am in the trenches of training appraisers in different areas. I'm licensed, certified residential in 3 different states. And over the last 6 years, I think I have somewhere between 11 or 12 appraisers that I have trained from basically 0 to certified. And so I've got a lot of, there's a lot of restrictions, or a couple of restrictions that I am not sure are intact today. But as far as I have a wealth of properties that I have appraised, anywhere between New Mexico and California. And what I'd like to be able to do is set up a kind of a set training program on properties that I have appraised where I kind of already know the answer. And I'm not sure if in California that is something I can do. Some of the statutes I've read have said that it can't be mock appraisals. And so I think that's maybe clarification I can get somewhere down the road. But to be able to set, as an independent appraiser that trains people, and I've done this for 35 years, is if I could have kind of training program that would be approved by California, it would make it very efficient for me to train people. It would cut down my costs of training people. And what I basically do is I train people to open up new offices for us. And then we work for AMCs, we work for attorneys and private parties. So I'm kind of been in the trenches on this, and I see, I have a restriction of 3 appraisers at one time. I'm not even sure if that applies to each state or not. I've just done it as 3 at a time if I have 2 in Arizona, 1 in California, or whatever. So I'm not sure about that clarification. I'm taking a conservative route and just saying 3.
30 seconds.
But I think okay, great. So a set training program where I can use previous appraisals to train people, that would be a tremendous boost. And my email's in here. Be happy to have a further discussion with anyone at BREA, because this is what I do every single day, and I'm, trying to grow the profession. So, thank you.
Thank you. And we have our next commenter is Pam Evans. Pam, I'm going to send you a request to unmute, and you'll see a pop-up.
All right. My name is Pamela Evans. I came to this profession as an older adult. I have an MBA. None of my experience counted. I was also a realtor. None of my experience counted. I then went through the process and pushed someone to train me. I was trained in a very luxury market. I then was not, after 2 years of being on my own, I felt isolated and completely alone, to the point that I left the profession after 6 years of doing it. Not making enough money to cover my health insurance costs, not making enough money to not decide to just go do banking or teach at school. There is a huge problem with us having to report to AMCs and trying to get work through them. It is miserable. And I think you should know that I do believe that starting with the practicum model may help the profession so that people work together, so they feel like there is someone there helping them. You are dealing with a situation where people are asked to look at things that are monumentally can cause value differences, and they have no one to talk to when they graduate. The AMCs don't want to know if we have an issue. They don't even want to pay us for what we do. So God bless you for having this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's see, our next commenter with a raised hand is Lourdes Russert. Lourdes, I'm going to send you a request to unmute. And that should have come in as a pop-up on your screen. And keep in mind that you can also use the chat if your mute and unmute doesn't work. All right. And it sounds like that's not working. So Lourdes, please use the chat. That's the little speech bubble icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen. I'll move on to Eric Roman. Eric, I'm going to send you the request to unmute. Eric
Hello?
Roman. Oh, hello. Yes.
This is Lourdes Russert. I
Wonderful.
think finally the unmute button is
Great.
working. Good morning. Thank
Good
you
morning.
also for putting this town hall meeting. I'm the current corporate board president of REA, and we welcome this kind of open forum to hear from the appraisers. I've been appraising for over 32 years, and I used to be the region appraisal manager for World Savings and have trained more than dozens of people as trainees to get their license. And what I see happening is that with the onset of the AMC, the restriction on the part of supervisor appraisers to do mock appraisals with their trainees is a big barrier. A lot of them do not allow trainees to work on the appraisals, and that's a big barrier as well. With the decline in the volume of appraisals, this has become also a challenge even for those who have trainees. So being able to use mock appraisal is really critical for them to have the opportunity to do appraisals. I believe we have tried as an organization to create some kind of program to help trainees get the experience through some of our members who have significant tenure in the profession. However, creating a practicum program requires a lot of resources and time on the part of appraisers. And we would like BREA to consider creating grants for organizations or educators who want to create practicum programs in order to make another opportunity like the West LA practicum program. I tried to get information from the website, but was not able to get additional information about their specific program. We need something more affordable. Perea is great, but a lot of the students have to have scholarships in order to afford the Perea program. And Appraisal Institute's doing a great job, but it's not as widely accessible as West LA hopefully will be to trainees. A prior speaker talked about having some kind of template to train appraisers. As being a trainer, I understand the importance of having a formalized, structured training program for trainees. A lot of people who train appraisers do it from the hip. Oh, here, let's go out and look at this, and we'll talk about each
30
appraiser.
seconds.
Well, we just don't know if we're hitting all the points to help them really understand the process. So,
Thank you very much. And as a reminder to those online trying to make a comment, you may have a pop-up blocker on. So if you turn that off, then you'll be able to see the unmute prompt. So our next commenter is Tammy Abel. Tammy, I'm going to send you a request to unmute. And if you are able to, we would love to promote you to panelists so that you can use your camera and we can see you. So Tammy, I've promoted you. You should be able to start your video and you can get the unmute prompt now.
So this is Eric Roman. I am currently unmuted, I believe.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
Did I lose my turn?
No, we can take you ahead of Tammy. Sorry, Tammy. One sec.
All right. I apologize, Tammy. My name is Eric Roman. I'm the Chief Appraiser for the South Pacific Division of the United States Army Corps of Engineers. We have about 68 certified general appraisers nationwide and 9 in California with 4 trainees. My comments are regarding PARIA and mentorship. And really, there's, from a trainee point of view, PARIA is fantastic because it's a opportunity to get experience. However, this requires a significant financial commitment from the trainee versus working with someone to get experience where the trainee is paid. And that's a pretty big offset. So in my experience as a certified general appraiser in California since 1995, I've had the opportunity to review many reports and have seen people being trained. Many other commenters mentioned that mentorship quality varies greatly from appraiser mentor to appraiser mentor. And I'm wondering if BREA would consider continuing education relating to the topic of mentorship to be included for continuing education credit so that mentors can improve their skills. And in addition, some kind of approved material that they can use like in a PARIA-like way that would qualify for education while trainees are being paid for the work that they're doing. I think this financial imbalance where you have to pay to play in our profession is a significant roadblock for people. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just as an alert to people, I am going to go ahead and turn off the chat at this time because people are getting off topic. So apologies, but we will be turning off the chat at this time. And people will be reading the discussion that was there, but it's most appropriate to go ahead and do this in the public forum as we intended. So we'll circle back to Tammy Abel. So I'm going to send you a request to unmute, and you should be able to turn your camera on if you'd like to. And Tammy, that would be a pop-up to unmute yourself, but since we were able to make you a panelist, you can just hit the unmute button, and you can hit the start video button if you'd like to. And Tammy, are you still with us? All right, Tammy might not be able to, but as we said, there is a survey that we will announce at the end, and the QR code for the survey is at the bottom corner of the slide, every slide. So if we don't get to you, we can go ahead and gather your thoughts there as well. So, Tammy, you're unmuted. Wonderful. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to say that I've been appraising since 1996, and I've been licensed since 1994. But I've only been licensed. I'm trying to get to certified, and wondering because in the last 3 years I had to stop appraising because of no work, basically, with my license level and living in Los Angeles. So I'm just trying to, besides the Appraisal Institute, if anyone could put into chat if they know of anything where I can get some extra money just to up my license. I only have like one class to take. So that's it.
All right, thank you. We have disabled the chat at this time. It seemed that conversation was running away from our topics that we're hoping to gather information on today, but I'm sure you can contact the Bureau and they may be able to, or I'm sure there are online groups that you can ask for advice on this issue. So we'll move on to our next raised hand, which is Anne Marie. And Anne Marie, I'm going to promote you to a panelist so that you can turn on your camera if you choose to, and you can unmute yourself. And let me.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can. Perfect.
Yes, I'm sorry, I don't have a camera to turn on.
Okay.
But anyway, I've been appraising since the late 80s prior to licensing, and I have trained people in the past. The problem that we have now, though, is there's supposed to be customary and reasonable fees, which in our state we seem to have not joined a lot of states that have mandatory disclosure fees, which have allowed states, those states to get higher fees because they're actually disclosing what the AMCs are getting, and we aren't. On the new form, the 3.6, this is going to be on it, but I'm just not wondering why we can't get a mandatory disclosure state. Another thing that does hold us back, I think, as being appraisers, is we are the highest or one of the highest appraisal fees in the nation, just to keep your license. And I'm wondering if there's something that we can do about that. I was always open to wanting to train people, but the problem in the past is you train them and then they take off and go somewhere else. So we do have a lot to look into, because I do feel with this new form, the 3.6, that we are going to be losing, in my opinion, about 30%. I don't know how many of you are aware of how many appraisers are actually actively licensed now, but it's been dropping considerably over the last 3 years. With that mandatory disclosure statement, I think it would help us all, and so I was hoping you would really look into it to making our state as part of one of those.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Let's see. I've got John Fazio. I'm going to send you a request to unmute, and then you can turn on your camera if you choose to. And John, you should see it pop up.
Yeah.
There you are. Perfect.
Thank you. I really appreciate this forum that we have today. In the past, we've had several trainee appraisers. In my particular business, I've been appraising for 35 years. And back then, it was really great because we allowed co-signing. Trainee or licensed appraiser would do the inspection. The supervisory appraiser would sign, he did not inspect. And it was a good system which allowed and encouraged appraisers to train and hire other appraisers. Once Dodd-Frank came into play, and everybody, all the relationships that we had with our lenders went away. Everybody that was licensed and certified could do an appraiser. So not necessarily the best appraisers were getting the work. And there's no motivation to train the appraisers at that point. You would train somebody, and as soon as they get their certification or license, they'd be gone. So that was the beginning of the constant amount of appraisers that are just falling out because we just don't have the motivation to train. So that was something I wanted to mention. Also, the hybrids, this is a whole topic, but the hybrid system that is being put in place, I'm finding out that inspectors are going to be realtors. I did the first hybrid appraisal this week. It took 8 or 9 days just to get the inspection. inspection email from the person that did the inspection, so it actually took longer than it would normally have taken if I did that appraisal myself. I guess my biggest concern is I would like the ability to hire more people to train. I've been doing this for 35 years. Over the years, I've trained probably 25 to 30 appraisers that went on to have great successful careers. There's just no motivation, so I just thought that would be a bit topic.
All right, and that was your comment? Thank you very much.
All right, and this is the room moderator, Tricia. If I can just jump in real fast and just remind people that the comments that Bria wants to hear information on are surrounding these 3 questions. I'll repeat them again just to refresh people's minds. What barriers to licensure have you seen or experienced, and how can Bria help address them? How can we better support supervisors so that they feel more able and willing to mentor trainees? And finally, what opportunities or concerns do you see with alternative pathways like PREA and practicum models?
Thank you, Tricia. So we will continue with our raised hands. Oh, and so let's go ahead next to Francisco. And Francisco, I'm going to send you a request to unmute, but you could do that on your own.
I'm unmuted.
Okay, wonderful. Go ahead.
So I appreciate the refocusing. I just wanted to echo what people have previously been saying. I'm new to the industry, certified general for less than a year. I've already seen a trainee walk away. It is wild to see people take advantage of a good opportunity at a small shop just to try to go walk into a bigger shop. I think PREA is an excellent idea because it's almost like a pre-vetting process for people with hunger and desire to be in industry who can then come in and be molded into what a specific shop may need. That's what I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And 1 second here. All right, so our next request to comment is from Homer Vazaria. Homer, I'm going to send you a request to unmute, and I will give you the option to turn on your camera if you would like to. Oops, 1 second. There you go. All right, so Homer, did you get a pop-up on your screen to unmute? There you go, perfect.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So there was just a couple of things, and I want to stay on your topics that in terms of training, I mean, I'm a review appraiser for a bank in Southern California. We do work across the country, and I see a lot of different reports from different regions, and it just seems, you know, in the use of AMCs, and I see a lot of appraisers that are using trainees, and you can usually tell the one of the barriers, with having a couple people in our office that want to become appraisers, and they're very grateful for PREA and getting their scholarships, but the main challenge seems to be for them is getting qualified experience, and we also need to recognize how and what experience they're getting. So, for example, we're changing the industry so that we can let some third party that's not licensed do an inspection. But most lenders, until recently, and we'll see how these changes are going to pan out, wouldn't allow us to do that, right? But now that the industry is changing in a way that they need it and they want it because it's more efficient for them, the lenders, I'm one of them, are working for, it really sets the trend. So when we do say qualifying experience, it sounds like PREA is doing it properly, but making sure that they understand every aspect of an appraisal. So getting back to the home inspection. Once they learn how to do a home inspection, they should be good. And we need to develop them in every part of the appraisal process. So analysis of data is really important, and teaching that analysis is the key, right, for new appraisers. So the point I'm trying to make is
30 seconds.
I just don't want to see people being farmed to do form filling when they should have some sort of criteria list that says, yeah, they've learned how to inspect, yeah, they learned how to do comp analysis, they learned how to do market analysis, so that the different stages of an appraisal can be met.
All right, thank you for your comment. And let's see, our next commenter is going to be, Kyle Paquin. And Kyle, I'm going to send you a request to unmute, and you can turn your camera on if you choose to.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So my name is Kyle Paquin. I'm a certified residential appraiser. I'm also part of the REAA, which you've heard several comments from some of our members today. I think moving forward to lowering barriers to licensure, I've trained 4 different trainees, and almost none of them are in the business today. And that's not really something that the Bureau can help with, because that's mostly business-wise. But what I believe that the Bureau could do is create, with maybe some representatives from our education departments, some prescribed criteria for a PREA program that you could essentially plug and play into the community college level, or maybe even a higher university level, so that each individual group doesn't have to completely reinvent the wheel and determine all of the various factors of what it takes to become an appraiser. If we had a curriculum, that would be monumental in getting multiple different platforms off the ground, and we could make a lot of progress in moving that forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. And we are coming to the end of our allotted time for this concept. Brea, would you like to take one more or 2 more?
It's 9:48, so we have till 9:55.
So if we have 2 more, you said, because we do have public comment. If there's something that is burning that needs to be said or should be said, you're welcome to, at the public comment section, to add your comments then. So if we can just, if it's something that you really want to make sure it got spoken at this time, please continue to raise your hand. Otherwise, we can move on to our next topic.
All right, we do have 4 raised hands, so I will do my best to get through them in our allotted time until 55 after. So next is Charles Baker. Charles, I'm going to send you a request to unmute.
Oh, very good. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, wonderful. My name is Charles Baker, appraiser in Southern California. I am currently the chair of the California Government Relations Subcommittee for the Appraisal Institute. We've had several meetings with Ms. Jamaat. It's good to see you, Angela. Thank you so much for spending time with us over the last few years. A lot of talk about the barriers to entry, education, experience, mentorship, and of course, monetary compensation. An issue that we're kind of grappling with, I think everyone in the room, is the death spiral that the Bureau is currently facing, with the number of licensed appraisers now standing at below 8,000. And I'm very curious to know how the Bureau is going to be approaching this topic of becoming mandatory versus currently we are a non-mandatory state. And of course, if we were a mandatory state, that would include assessors and CPAs, accountants, property tax agents and consultants, attorneys, insurance adjusters, expert witnesses, and brokers. I know there'd be some pushback from some of these other groups of folks to be coming under the umbrella of the Bureau, but I'm just very curious to know what the thinking is now to try to accomplish that, because that would really stem the tide. There's really three solutions. So that's the first one. The second one is just to continue as is.
And we've gotten a reminder to stay on topic for these topics that are on the screen.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Thank you very much. I was just looking at the agenda item number 4. That's what I was speaking with. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. And let's see, Karina Rollins. And a reminder to go ahead and stay on topic if you may, if you can. And Karina, did you see the pop-up to unmute yourself? All right, Karina, it looks like you are not going to be able to unmute. We have reopened the chat if you do have something you need. And move on to Dr. Bob. I'll send you a request to unmute.
Okay, hi, I'm Bob
Yes.
Abelson. I'm certified general appraiser since 1996, certified use PAP instructor, teach at Saddleback and Irvine Valley College and UCLA Extension. My question is, with PARIA, have you gotten any feedback from the Institute once they've been through the program, and so they've earned their hours and their experience, and you license them? Has anyone ever found a job? Are they able to do this on their own? Because somehow I think, I don't know everything about their program, they haven't gotten necessarily all the nuts and bolts about how to set up a practice, to be out there actually on the street, how to do this and get new clients. So I don't know, have you gotten any feedback from the Institute as far as, has anyone found employment? Or are they able to just go out on their own, hang out their shingle and start working?
All right, thank you for your comment. And let's wrap up with Daryl Johnson. Daryl, I'm going to send you a request to unmute. And Daryl, did you get your all right. And so it looks, if you've had any problems with unmuting yourself or with not being able to raise your hand or something like that, a reminder, we've got a survey that we will distribute the link to at the end of the meeting, but it's also represented as the QR code at the bottom of the slides, and you can contribute your comments in that way as well. And so at this point, I believe I'm going to turn this next topic over. Tricia, welcome, you're introducing.
Thank you so much. So our next speaker is Supervising Property Appraiser and Investigator Richard Rios, and he'll be talking about California as a mandatory versus non-mandatory state.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm here to introduce a topic addressing how California regulates real estate appraisers and whether our current approach is still the best way to protect consumers and support the industry. As part of the recent sunset review of the Bureau of Real Estate Appraisers, several discussion points were raised. Among them, should California consider expanding its licensing requirements to cover more types of appraisals and not just those tied to federally regulated transactions? And if we did, what would that mean for consumers, the industry, and the Bureau itself? The mission of the Bureau is to safeguard public trust by promoting professionalism in the real estate appraisal industry through licensing, education, and enforcement. This mission is foremost in our minds when considering any recommendations provided to the Bureau. Currently, California is a non-mandatory state. That means only appraisals tied to federally regulated transactions must be performed by licensed or certified appraisers. Other types of appraisals, such as those for private sales or certain cash transactions, may be conducted without a license. The Sunset Review Committee has recommended that the Bureau explore the feasibility of becoming a mandatory state, meaning that all appraisals, regardless of the type of transaction, would be required to be performed by a licensed or certified professional. This recommendation reflects a broader concern for consumer protection and the integrity of California's real estate appraisal profession. By ensuring that all appraisals are conducted by qualified individuals who meet established education, experience, and ethical standards, the state can help safeguard the public. The committee has also asked the Bureau to evaluate how such a change might impact consumers and the appraisal industry as a whole. Just as importantly, the Bureau has been asked to consider how mandatory licensure could promote a more consistent professional standard across appraisal work in the state, raising the bar for quality and accountability, as well as reinforcing the public's trust in the appraisal process. The Bureau will also need to address how such a transition could be implemented in a way that is fair, efficient, and beneficial to both the public and the profession. As you explore these questions today, your input will help us evaluate if any changes can make the industry and public protection stronger and more effective. Thank you all for being part of this town hall. Now I'll turn it back over to Tricia so she can continue the discussion.
All right, so just like we had questions to encourage comment for the last topic, we have questions here. There are 3 of them. And just a reminder to please stay on topic and speak to these questions. We do have a time at the end of this meeting for topics not on the agenda, so you'll get a chance then if you want to speak about something else. But the topics we'd like you to address for this public comment are: how would requiring a license for all valuation services enhance public trust and consumer protection? What are the potential impacts, both positive and negative, of mandatory licensing on the industry? Can you share any relevant experiences? And finally, should exceptions be made for certain types of valuations, such as broker price opinions or internal assessments? And just like before, we'll start with those people in the room. If you'd like to comment on any of these 3 questions, just go ahead and walk up to the table.
Good morning again, Jim Glickman. I'm going to share a recent experience. When I worked at the assessor's office, advised the taxpayer to get an appraisal. They went out and with the help of an attorney, neither of which understood what an appraisal was. They got a document labeled an appraisal, prepared by a real estate agent, but went on to explain why they're qualified to do appraisals because of all their experience, but they weren't licensed. I then believe I contacted your office, knowing the answer, but said, can I send this in, refer this report to you for enforcement? And your answer was no, because California is not mandatory. They're only mandatory for federal transactions. So that is just an example of why we need it for the consumer protection. But I am wondering, as Charles Baker mentioned earlier, you will get pushback, but I'm hopeful that the BRA will not bend under the power of, I guess, lobbies that are stronger than appraisers, because obviously we don't have the numbers or the financial means to lobby against something or for. So please listen to your conscience, and not just because of how many lobbies and how strong they are in the state. I can see 2 impacts of it. Of course, as an appraiser, I would be hopeful if there's more appraisers, it would lower the fees for our licensing fees. However, if you make it mandatory, that means you're going to need more staff, so maybe licensing fees won't go down because you'll need more money to enforce the new licensing on all these appraisals. So things to consider. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm just going to follow Jim for the in the morning. My name is John Dingman again. My original license is in Arizona. In that state, it is a privilege to provide an opinion of value on real property because only a credentialed appraiser can do that. Incidentally, their laws and regs also limit to reviews. So consider that in the language. Positive impact for sure. I agree with Jim and Charles. Stakeholders from other industries may have some pushback. However, I would also encourage Brea to look at states like Utah, Tennessee, etc., who have had areas where they've made carve-outs, exceptions for things like evaluation, which are governed by the interagency guidelines, and then encourage you to reach out to the banks. One of the banks, at least from the American Banking Association, shared with a group of appraisers, look, our challenge is an appraiser's doing an evaluation that is an appraisal. For example, in Arizona, they label it as such. It changes the way they review that product. It's not very different than USPAP, but nonetheless. So Utah, for example, has a carve-out that says if an appraiser who is best served to perform that task, if an appraiser is performing an evaluation, they're bound by the general obligations under USPAP, but not standards 1 and 2. And so that's an opportunity for a lift for appraisers performing those tasks. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room would like to comment? All right, so I would turn it over to the online moderator. And are there any comments online?
Thank you. And so as before, each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. We have a couple of raised hands already, but if you'd like to make a comment, you can click on the hand icon, and that's typically at the bottom of your WebEx screen if you're on a computer. If you're on a mobile device, that raised hand may be behind the 3-dot other options. If you are a call-in user, you can press *3 to raise your hand. And if these methods don't work, we have the chat open for comments directed to the questions. Or we do have the survey, and I've put the chat in the chat, the survey address, and you can always contribute your comments in that way. So we'll start with Greg Migdale. I'm going to send you a request to unmute, and you're welcome to turn your camera on if you'd like.
Hello, everyone. My name is Greg McDale. I'm a commercial reviewer and a USPAP instructor. I appreciate the opportunity to talk today. I think this is a great idea to have a town hall meeting. I just wanted to reiterate what Jim and Charles have said. I strongly believe that mandatory licensure would enhance public trust in our profession. I would imagine there's many in our state who believe that this is already the case. I would think that the public would demand that appraisers that have such an impact in their lives have been licensed and can be held to a standard. The question that I had, though, is do we have any idea how many people this speaks of? Only if we're just talking about appraisers. How many appraisers would fall into this category of they're only doing work for example, lawyers or estates or something, and they're not doing any federally related transactions? But in any regard, I think this would enhance the number of people paying our fees, but more importantly than that, enhance public trust in our profession. And thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And our next, let's see, our next commenter is Dr. Bob. And Dr. Bob, I'm going to send you a request to unmute.
Thank you. And I admire Jim Glickman. I know him as a fellow educator, but there's a couple of points here. Number one, in the Board of Equalization rules, there's nothing that says that the expert or person presenting the tax appeal for the property owner has to be a licensed appraiser in this state. So you're going to have to deal, that's a big uphill battle with another agency as far as that regulation. Number two, if you want this to be mandatory licensing, then I'm going to say, well, it's got to be a fair fight when we go in to do the tax assessment appeal, which I have done, but I always approach it as I'm coming in as your consultant, because basically the other side doesn't have to follow USPAP, the assessor's office, where as an appraiser you would. And then thirdly, as far as mandatory licensing, I tell my students it's kind of interesting when you do the non-lending work, and let's say it's a 5 or 6 unit apartment building. Hey, what's the difference between 4 units and 6 units? Do you really need to have a certified residential license? You know how to measure the property. You know how to do a rent survey. And additionally, you know how to do the income approach in a little different fashion than you would do on the 2 to 4 form. So, you know, in that sense, there's a double-edged sword here as far as if you go forward with that, like some people who probably now have done that as a certified residential appraiser now would say, hey, now I can't even do that type of work because now I need my certified general license. So you got to really think about the unintended consequences if you go this route, and you're going to have to then get the assessor's office on board with that. And you know, IRS I think accepts USPAP, so a lot of the non-lending work is now sort of also demanding that, but then there are other circumstances where it doesn't. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. And let's see, our next commenter is going to be Kyle Paquin. And Kyle, if you'd like to turn your camera on, you're welcome to.
All right, thank you. So it's interesting that we're going into this topic. We specifically already had an example of an agent or a broker going out and providing appraisal services, which is totally within their purview. For example, the Code of Ethics in the as a realtor, if you belong to NAR, it states that if you provide appraisal services, they have to be competent and compliant and presumably adhere to USPAP or something similar. So making license mandatory is not necessarily changing that for agents. They've already figured out the BPO question and CMAs and how they do that stuff. I'm not so certain that just blanketing everybody and saying everyone who does an appraisal needs to have a license truly enhances the public trust, because I don't know if it really if having a certified or licensed credential means that you're necessarily competent in that type of work. It's a lot different in other professions where it's essentially, if you're a CPA or a contractor, the requirements are a whole lot different. But for an appraiser, just because you have a license doesn't mean you know how to do specialized type of appraisals or appraisals for specific purposes for litigation or for tax appeal or things like that. So I'm not sure that a license alone is truly enhancing the situation. Not that it shouldn't happen, but I just question that logic from a practical standpoint.
All right, thank you for your comment. And let's see, our next commenter online is going to be, one moment, Brad Bassey. And Brad, let me give you the ability to turn on your camera if you'd like to. And then you can unmute as you like, or I'll send you a prompt as well. So Brad Bassey, you should have gotten a pop-up to unmute yourself, or you can unmute yourself by clicking on the button at the bottom of your screen. And Brad, if you can't find that, you can put your comment into the chat, or you can fill out the survey and put your comment in that as well.
Well, is it now working?
Oh, now it is. Perfect.
Good. 15 clicks. I guess maybe you shouldn't hear my comments since I can't figure out how to unmute.
Oh, okay.
I'm a certified residential real estate appraiser in the state of California, have been for 33 years. My concern about turning things from voluntary into mandatory is selfish. because I do some large horse ranches, and that I have the technical expertise to do because of my background, where I was raised, how I was raised. And if you guys go to mandatory, then that property that is being done for non-lending work, you would lose one additional appraiser, because in the rural market, we're already shorthanded on appraisers. And if we go to mandatory, you're going to eliminate some of those things that could be done by somebody that is competent and can handle horse ranches. And if I could turn my video on, you guys would, if I could figure out how to click that on, you would be able to see that somehow or another, this guy does have a Stetson and does have some qualifications for horse ranches. I am a little concerned about this going to mandatory over that, because we've got a shortage of appraisers already, at least according to some sources. And I think on the rural side of it, we definitely have a shortage. And I think going to mandatory on some of those areas is going to create some issues. So that's my take. I appreciate you allowing me to come on. And I know I'm in a disagreement with John Dingman and Charles Baker, all of whom, and Craig Medell, whom I'm all appreciate and know very well and appreciate their knowledge. But I just think this is heading in the wrong direction, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. All right, and next up is Beatriz Rodriguez. And Beatriz, I'm going to make you a panelist so that you can use your camera if you choose to. And I will send you the request to unmute. And Beatriz, you should be able to unmute yourself at the bottom of the WebEx screen, or you can click on the pop-up that says, oh, there you go. You're unmuted now.
Hello, how are you? My name is Beatrice Rodriguez. I am a student at San Joaquin Delta College, and I am in school for real estate for the whole everything. I'm at appraisals, and I'm super excited because I was invited to meet with you guys this morning, and I was super excited because I'm in appraisals now. So I'm studying appraisals, and I am looking for anybody who knows of anybody that can help me with what I'm looking for. Because in real estate, there's a lot of, you have to go get hands-on experience, get trained, and some people don't pay, and some people, it's their time consumed. They want to get paid nowadays in California for training you. And if anybody knows anybody, can you please refer me? But thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it so much, and I've learned so much so far. And I'm super excited. I can't wait to get into the business and make sure I do my best. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. All right, let's go swing. Let's see. Checking my time here. And so let's go to Homer Vazira, sorry. Homer Vazira. I sent a request to unmute.
Sorry, I think I did that in error.
Oh.
But on that topic, though, just since I'm on, I did get a valuation from a non-appraiser back in the day, many years ago, for an estate trust, and had became an appraiser a few years after that, and reread the appraisal after another life event occurred, and was somewhat shocked by the quality of the report. So I understand there's lots of concerns on the other end, but there has to be some way to regulate something like this, and especially when it's for a federally related transaction. Broadly speaking, it was for taxes. It's a federal transaction, and we're held to that standard. And looking back at it, not being an appraiser at the time, going through those events and trusting your lawyer, when the lawyer at the time had a really strong relationship with this guy. And again, I looked at the appraisal some years afterwards, and All I can say is it served its purpose for what the lawyer was trying to achieve, and the gentleman wasn't a licensed appraiser, though he was an appraiser for many years and used the credential of the Appraisal Institute as his flagpole, and I don't think I would ever hired this guy again. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comment. All right, so let me check in and see who's next. And we have Charles Baker. I'll make, as I have presence of mind, I will make people
Okay.
the.
Thanks so much. Can you hear me again?
You're welcome.
I'm so sorry for jumping ahead on the previous segment.
Okay, sure. Yes, we can hear you. And if you'd like to turn your video on, you're welcome to.
Okay, let me see if I can do that. All right.
There you are.
Yeah, thanks so much. So, yeah, one way to accomplish this the switch to mandatory would be to allow a carve out for folks that are doing evaluations and other products that maybe are not specifically appraisal related. A carve out that would require them to be subject to the ethics rule, the record keeping rule, competency rule, scope of work rule, and the jurisdictional exception rule, but not standards 1 through 10. That would be one way to accomplish that. And to me, I think we need to explore that as one of the previous speakers acknowledged. In Utah, they are a mandatory state. I just know that the pushback from the assessors, especially and attorneys, it will be formidable. So the other solutions are to just continue down the present road, or to make licensing applicable only to FRTs, which would really limit the role that the Bureau currently plays. So those are my comments, and I appreciate you putting this together. It's very, very helpful. It allows us to provide some feedback to the regulators. It's very, very valuable. So thank you, and appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. All right, and next is going to be Lourdes Russert. One sec while I make you a panelist so you have a use of your camera. And you're welcome to go ahead and unmute, Lourdes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Great. I just want to comment on the question 2, potential impacts, both positive and negative, of mandatory licensing. There are reasons for both, but I feel that, one, I always look at what's the public perception of a evaluator. There's a common perception, I think, from a consumer point of view, that when somebody's doing evaluation, that they're somehow licensed. And we know that with the advent of significant decline in volume of FRT, federal related transactions, a lot of appraisers are looking at doing more non-lending work. And one positive of being a mandatory state is that the licensing requirement, one key aspect of licensing is the continuing education aspect requirement of the license. And I think it forces appraisers to get the required continuing education courses in order to continue educating themselves on new trends, on new areas that they want to specialize in. And without licensing, a lot of tenured appraisers would opt, because of the significant costs involved in maintaining a license, to not renew their licenses. So this topic is really timely, but at the same time, until we are able to find a way to make it more reasonable in terms of cost to maintain a license, there's always a disincentive to maintain a license if you can do other evaluation work. The cost is a factor that would be a negative impact to a lot of evaluators in the industry. I think from the positive aspect is by requiring licensing mandatory, it would put all evaluators into an equal footing. where not only licensed appraisers are required to get the CE education, but everyone is the same footing and probably enhance the quality, or at least people are getting the education they need to maintain that license. I agree that there should be a carve out on certain types of valuations, depending on potential impact to the public. And that's something that probably should be explored later on if that becomes a requirement. I also feel that there should be a
30 seconds.
grandfathering people who already have been doing the non-lending work, that they should be exempt from any new requirement if mandatory becomes the law. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And our next commenter is Jeff Hogan. Jeff, I sent you a request to unmute. And Jeff, I'll make you a panelist in case you'd like to use your camera. Let me send you one more request to unmute if you see that pop-up come up on your screen.
You hear me?
I do now, yes, thank you.
Great. Let's see, let me try the video.
Sure.
If it works. All right, I'll just go without video.
Sounds
you
good.
Don't see, you don't even see my ugly mug anyway. But let me just say that, you know, there's exceptions and things we've got to look at, but I'm kind of having trouble understanding why anybody would think mandatory licensing for appraisal products, not things on the side, broker price opinions, assessments, those kinds of things. But if you are doing, if you need surgery, are you going to go to a non-certified doctor who's been doing surgeries a long time but just never bothered to go and get their license? Are you going to use this? I see it in the chat. Somebody brought up a CPA, a broker, real estate broker, or even just a stockbroker. I mean, it really is a matter of, and somebody brought this up too, the perception is that if you're doing this, you have the experience, you have a license. And if this person, whoever this unlicensed person is, let's say they do something unethical, immoral, whatever it is, there's no repercussions because they don't have a license. There's nothing you can do in that situation. Even as a consumer, you can't even go after the person. You can't, there's nothing the Bureau can do. People complain to the Bureau about licensed and non-licensed people, but if they're not licensed, there's nothing the Bureau can do. So I think it's kind of it's really, I don't think it's a good thing to have a person saying, I don't really need a license, but I've been doing this a long time. So therefore, let's not make licensing mandatory. Are we going to lose some people that don't have a license to this mandatory license requirement? Probably. But to me, okay, let's get somebody who has a license. So I think it should motivate anybody who's doing this work that doesn't have a license to go out and get their license. So maybe there's a ramp up time. It's not going to flip a switch, but at least Lourdes, I think the person who just spoke, talked about the education requirements to give a license. There's a lot of pros to having a license and just being a professional. The definition of a profession is licensing by definition. So if you're just out there making up values and doing it on your own and without a license, good luck. But I'm not going to use anybody like myself. All right, that's all I have. I'm off my soapbox.
Thank you for the comment. All right, and let's see here. Our next in line for comment is Neil Leffman. Neil, I'm going to promote you to panelist so you can use your camera if you choose to, and you can unmute yourself, but I will send you the reminder pop-up. And Neil, did you see the pop-up to unmute you? There you are. And you're welcome to use your camera if you choose to.
I don't think you want to see me.
All right, fair enough.
However, I do want to make some comments and
appreciate the opportunity very much and appreciate you, Angela, for, I assume it was your conception of this meeting. I've been a commercial appraiser for over 50 years. I got my initial designations from the Society in the 70s and from the Institute in the early 80s. I've always lived by the mantra that anyone can make a living, professionals make a difference. And to that end, I think it is incumbent on me as a professional to contribute back. I know there are many, many folks on this meeting that feel the same way. However, as a member of the California AI Government Relations Committee for over 15 years, I've observed a structural problem that the appraisal profession is trapped within a larger industry that includes all types of actors. I believe the majority of folks who are currently performing appraisals without a California license have their reasons for not being licensed. I doubt we have any idea how many folks are providing appraisal services in California. I do believe that a large number of those folks will simply continue their current practices. Mandatory licensing appears an attempt to stop BREA's death spiral. However, I don't see how BREA can possibly police all those unlicensed folks who will simply continue appraising. Mandatory licensing could have the unintended consequence of hastening BREA's financial demise. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you for your comments. And at this point, we are out of time for this topic. So we will go ahead and encourage everyone again to use the survey. The QR code is in the bottom of every slide, and I will put the survey address into the chat again, and then we can move on to our next topic.
Thank you, Anne. So our next speaker will be the Deputy Bureau Chief of Enforcement, Tina Morlatt, and she will be talking about enforcement statutes and regulatory opportunities.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'd like to thank Tricia and Anne for moderating today. It's my pleasure to be introducing this next topic, which is focused on enforcement statutes and regulatory opportunities. Throughout time, statutes and regulations have been deleted, modified, enhanced, and sometimes through that process, it can lead to some disenfranchise between the two. As a result, during our sunset hearing, the legislature has asked us to review statute and regulations for ensured consistency. Originally, our statutes and regulations were promulgated in the early 1990s. And then in 2009, the state of California took a leadership role in promulgating AMC statutes and regulations prior to the federal government making those requirements to AMCs and state regulators. Since that time, there have been minimal changes to those regulations and statutes. And so today gives us the opportunity to hear from you all as our constituents and industry participants as to what your thoughts are on these statutes and regulations as they currently stand. The other issue that we see on the enforcement side is we are always attempting to maintain public trust and enhance professionalism. And in that vein, one of the things we attempt to do when we see somebody who has deficiencies in their appraisal practice is to educate them. How can we provide corrective discipline in a way that assists our appraisers in a practical understanding of how to apply USPAP in their everyday work? And so we're looking for you all to provide us with some commentary and some feedback on what kind of courses you think will assist in these more common USPAP deficiencies. How can we, as your regulators, help you and ultimately help us do a better job of public protection and elevating and promoting the appraisal profession? So I'd like to keep my comments brief because I'm really enjoying the participation that we're experiencing. today. And so on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Tricia.
All right, so like the other topics, we have questions to guide your comments. So we really encourage you to please stick to just addressing these questions. And if you have a comment you want to make that has nothing to do with these questions, we do give you that opportunity later on for topics not on the agenda. So the questions for this area are, what areas of AMC regulation need to be enhanced or improved upon? Where do you see, if any, the biggest disconnect between state regulation and use path? And what challenges do you see in what is being offered for corrective education? And what role, if any, should BREA have in developing corrective education? So as before, we'll start with the room. Anyone who wants to comment, please come forward.
We have to go first.
I may have to go. Sorry. Thanks, Jen, for leaving me out there. Again, John Dingman. So I'm going to avoid one so that those don't feel like there's some sort of conflict of interest. I am a founding member of the Coalition of Arizona Appraisers and did work very hard to secure, like California, early adoption of AMC regulations and vetted all of those discussions. That being said, I very much enjoyed the corrective education classes. I wasn't told that I had to take them through the foundation. I thought those are very helpful. I'd also encourage BREA to have some conversations with Texas. I believe their mentoring program to assist appraisers getting back on track. That's the goal. At the end of the day, it's not necessarily to be punitive, but to make sure that appraisers are performing better to ensure the public trust is there. So again, a mentoring program may be beneficial to those appraisers that are struggling. Thank you.
So,
apologies for that. I was having a coughing fit.
No worries. I got your back.
Thank you.
So, if there's no more comments in the room, no? Yes? Okay. So, Ann Fisher, you are welcome to solicit those who are online who would like to speak to this topic.
All right, thank you so much. So if you would like to make a comment as an online viewer, you can look for the hand icon, typically at the bottom of the WebEx screen. Or if you're on a mobile device, the little hand might be behind the three dot other options. And if you're on a mobile, or if you're a call-in user, you can press *3 to raise your hand. So would anyone like to make a comment? I believe I saw a hand from Anne Marie, but if that was a mistake, that's fine. All right, good. So Anne Marie, you're welcome to unmute yourself. And if you'd like to use your camera, you may.
I would love to use a camera if I had one,
okay.
But I don't. Anyway, I was going to address something, and I hope I don't step on some toes here, but on the regulations of the AMCs, I don't understand why we have AMCs that allow staff appraisers. That my common complaint out here in the real estate world that I've been in forever and know all of these real estate agents quite well out in my neck of the woods after 40 years in this area. They get this staff appraiser, the same one over and over, because maybe that mortgage broker uses that AMC that isn't really qualified or understanding of this neighborhood. And they say, why can't you get the appraisal? And I say to them, well, you need to complain about your staff appraisers and AMCs, because I can't compete with that, nor what they pay them, or the fact that I don't get the work. I think it's a big conflict of interest that AMCs are allowed to have staff appraisers, and I'd really like you guys to comment and let me understand why that's allowed. It just seems to be a conflict of interest.
Right, and as a reminder, this is not really intended to be a back and forth discussion, so I will.
Yeah, I know, but I know they're going to eventually talk about that.
Right.
But it just seems to be a big disconnect, especially for people. And just one other small thing too is, I believe it's in Alaska, they allow the consumer to look over somebody's resume of 3 or 5 people and then choose which one they want. It seems to me that we have a big problem with the Consumer Bureau of Affairs and the fact that people are paying good money for something, and then again, they don't know what they're getting, be it qualified or somebody who's far more educated at something to be doing that area or not. And I think that's something that we should look in regulation is experience.
All right. Thank you for your comment. And are there any other requests for comment from online attendees? Click the hand icon, or our call-in users can press *3 to raise their hand. And Neil Leffman, wonderful. I've sent you the request to unmute, and you know you can start your camera if you choose to. And Neil, did you see? Oh, oops, I'm sorry, you had it, and I was just clicked you. Try it again one more time, Neil. And Neil, can you? There you go. Perfect.
I apologize. Don't know what happened there. I was not going to comment again, but I just can't help myself. The residential appraisal profession has had to face an almost insurmountable challenge ever since the lending community convinced the government to allow them to package and sell loans. In the old days, those of us who were appraising back when recall the days when appraisers actually cared about the quality of their loans. Sadly, I don't believe that's been true for many years. The focus now appears to me to be purely on volume, and we're, as appraisers, in the unfortunate position of attempting to serve clients who really don't want, in my opinion, a professional product as much as they want a result. And I'm sorry, I don't see a solution to that. That's the end of my comment. Thanks.
Thank you. And are there any other requests to comment? Let's see. All right. Well, I believe. Oh, and here's Loris Russert. I'll send you the request to unmute. And go ahead, Loris.
Muted.
Nope, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I just want to comment on the AMC regulation. Now, I'm not sure if there's something that could be done on a state level, but the intrinsic problem with AMC is that they do the bidding process, and that promotes underselling appraisers. Competency, or the other way around, because it's always like who can do it the fastest and who can do this the cheapest. And that does not promote. I've been appraising for 32 years, and some of the requests that comes in are citing fees that were even unheard of 20 years ago. The cost of living has gone up, but they're all starting at $350 for appraisal. That is supposed to be done by someone who's licensed, who spent years to get their license, have to take continuing education classes for a $350 fee on that appraisal. And plumbers make more money than we do. A lot of other professions make more money than appraisers. And this is a key aspect of why we're losing appraisers. They have to go find other jobs in order to make a living wage to support themselves. So there's really need to be a need to have some kind of, I don't know if we could do it, a minimum bar of, like, we have minimum wages in California, but we need to have something similar for appraisers where, people cannot ask you to do an appraisal for XYZ because an appraiser would look at that as that's ridiculous. So that's one of my comment AMC. The Number 3 topic, corrective education as an educator. I know when I'm developing classes, I use the newsletter and the input from BREA in terms of what the deficiencies are that they're seeing in our appraisals. So I want to just give you that comment that it's extremely helpful for educators to be able to have access to that information, because it tells us this is a common problem with appraisers, so we need to address that when we're educating, when we're doing our continuing education classes or developing them. So that's extremely helpful input. Disconnect between state regulation and USPAP.
30 seconds.
I think in most respect, what we see in the state regulation is pretty much aligned with USPAP. So we don't really see a big disconnect in that area. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And let's see, our next commenter is John Davis. And John, I sent you a request to unmute. But I realize I can also make you a panelist so that you can use your camera if you choose to. And John Davis, you should have gotten a pop-up on your,
Yep.
Oh, there you go.
I'm
Perfect.
here.
Great.
I'm in a remote section of New Mexico right now. So, but I am California certified, as I had mentioned. And Tina, I had some interaction with Tina about 5 years ago, and it was an issue with a homeowner. And I must say that the process I thought was very efficient, and it was set up properly. The homeowner was upset about something, wanted to blame the appraiser. The complaint was filed. I think is the right way for the homeowner or anyone like that to go directly to to the authorities. And it was resolved to where the homeowner actually, it was their agent that screwed up, and it was resolved. On the AMC side, my experience has been different, and what I think needs to happen, and I've experienced this in New Mexico, Arizona, and California, is I think the AMC has to be held to a higher standard as far as the complaint process than the general public. I think we are here to protect the general public. We are here to protect the appraisal industry. I have seen AMCs use the complaint process as I don't think it's the way it was set up. So, and I'll kind of leave it at that, because obviously I have an ongoing situation with an AMC, and I'm reluctant to talk about it, but I think it needs to be said at a public level and I think every AMC will agree to this, that they are not the general public. They are, regulated. And so I do have some pretty strong ideas of what would be a better way to do it. I don't think this is the right format to share it on. So as a comment, I will say I am available for further discussion, but I think the BREA does an excellent job right now of enforcing and communicating with appraisers. So I think that's really solid. I'd just like to see some different things happen at the AMC level, and that would be my comment. So be happy to help out there.
All right. Thank you very much for the comment. And let's see, our next speaker is Anton N. Anton, I'm going to make you a panelist so that you can use your camera if you choose to. And I have sent you a request to unmute.
Yes, I have a question on the question 1. What areas of AMC regulation needs to be enhanced? Because right now, AMCs, they are really looking to get the cheapest appraiser for the job they have. And there's a constant push to lower the standard of an appraisal report from an AMC. I've seen it on like, for example, on the short-term rentals. they're constantly trying to cut the scope of work to the point that the reports are not credible. They're trying to send out commercial properties as single-family homes. Sometimes they try to pass, properties as duplexes, which are not duplexes, which are really single-family homes. And they're looking for an appraiser who would do like quote-unquote questionable practices and get a cheaper fee out of that appraiser. So the way to fight it would be to make AMCs responsible for bad appraisals which are being turned into. Because right now the AMC says, "Oh no, that's the appraiser who did that," but really the AMC selected the appraiser who would do a questionable practice. So when there's an enforcement case against a particular appraiser, it's also the AMC should be some kind of looked into it, how they contribute to that situation.
All right. Thank you for your comment. And I do not, Bob Wojtovich. Apologies if I mangled your name. I promoted you so that you can turn your camera on if you choose to. And I'm sending you a request to unmute. And Bob, if you see a pop-up, you can click unmute me. And anyone who does seem to be having an issue with either the hand raise or the unmute can put your comment into the chat, or you can use the QR code that's at the bottom of every slide to take the survey, and you can contribute your comments in that venue. And it looks like I see your hand raised, Bob. Oh, there you go. You're unmuted now. Go ahead, Bob. I heard something. Oh, and now you've muted yourself. Sorry. All right. I sent one more request for you to unmute yourself. I see your hand coming up and down, but I'm not hearing you again. There's an unmute and unmute button. All right, my apologies, Bob. It looks like our technology may have gotten the better of us. So I believe that we can, Tricia, you're welcome to move on to the next area.
All right, thank you, Ann. So our next speaker will be Licensing Manager Kevin Griffin, and he will be talking about enhancing communications with stakeholders and the public.
Yes, thank you, Tricia. Good morning, everyone, and thank you again for being here. Participate in this important conversation about the future of real estate, appraisal, the profession.
Telling you.
As we look into the future, communication is at the heart of how BREA can grow and strengthen the appraisal profession in California. As the state's regulatory body for real estate appraisers, effective communication is central to BREA's mission. So clear, timely, and transparent communication ensures that licensees understand their obligations, that stakeholders remain informed about regulatory changes, and that the public can trust the integrity of the appraisal process. Strong communication is not just about sharing information. It is about building confidence in BREA's role as a fair, accessible, and accountable regulator. For example, when BREA issues enforcement advisories or posts disciplinary actions, it not only informs licensees, but also reassures the public that appraisal standards are being upheld. Similarly, BREA's updates on education requirements, application processes, and policy changes help appraisers stay compliant and confident in their professional responsibilities. One of the most effective ways BREA can support this mission is through outreach and communication. Beyond public-facing events like today's town hall, BREA is working to enhance how we connect with licensees, stakeholders, and the public. Some of the key activities underway include our newsletter. So BREA publishes regular newsletters to provide timely updates on regulatory changes, policy updates, educational opportunities, and reminders about compliance. And we're also looking at ways to expand content and to ensure accessible and useful, and to ensure that it is more accessible and useful for appraisers at all stages of their careers. We also have our website, of course. The BREA website serves as a central hub for information, including licensing requirements, application resources, enforcement actions, and consumer information. We are exploring ways to make the site more user-friendly, mobile accessible and searchable, so that it better serves both appraisers and the public. As far as public information is concerned, BREA responds to a wide variety of inquiries from consumers, appraisers, and stakeholders alike. We're considering how to make frequently requested information more proactive and readily available online. And last but not least, social media. BREA plans to strengthen its presence, on social media as a way to share updates quickly, highlight important deadlines, and promote opportunities to engage with the appraisal community, as we see this as a critical tool, of course, for reaching broader and younger audiences. So looking ahead, BREA is committed to building on these communication channels to ensure that information is, again, timely, clear, and accessible. Today, we want to hear from you about how we can do this most effectively. And with that, I'll pass it back to you, Tricia.
Great, thank you, Kevin. So our last set of questions that we'd like to receive your input on are, what communication channels, for example, newsletter, website, social media, do you find most effective for receiving updates from BREA? And how can we make the website and digital tools more user-friendly or accessible? What additional information or resources should BREA provide to better support appraisers and stakeholders, and how often? And finally, how can BREA improve communication with the public to increase awareness of the appraisal profession and its value? So as we have been doing, we'll start with the room. Yes, please come to the table, and I'd love to hear from you.
My name is Joe Lynch. I'm a certified residential appraiser here in California. Thank you for hosting this. This is a great idea, so thank you. The newsletter you guys produce is excellent. It's always good and it's always full of good information. It would be great to see it more often. The other thing I would say is it would be great to see write-ups of issues that you've come across. So, don't include details that could identify it, but if you're seeing the same problem or a significant problem that California appraisers continue to make, if you could do a write-up to say, this is what we're seeing, this is the way, this is the best practice, and this is what you should be doing, that would be useful for all of us. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisa Freeman. I've been an appraiser for 20 years. Love the newsletter. It's great. I'm going to echo what he just said, is if we can have it a little bit more frequently, it's great. Because we sometimes work independently, the communication helps. So fostering that. I think something else that you can have, especially as you're doing the PREA, trainees who come into it, they always are looking for a mentor. Maybe solicit appraisers who are willing to be mentors. Have a list of those trainees, can go and contact them. So you don't have trainees randomly calling everybody on the list, anybody and everybody, and I don't know that person, I don't have contact with them. They don't know if I'm taking trainees or not, but that way they have specific appraisers who said, yes, I'd like to be a supervisor or I'd like to be a mentor. They can contact that list, and that should be the first place that they can go to. But this has been awesome at the same time. Thank you.
Any other comment from the room?
Well, you're Jim's. Jim Glickman, individual appraiser and educator. I think as far as the type of media, you probably already know, but if you're looking to go to social media or on your own website, some type of video content would be very helpful. Even short videos, that saves you the trouble of answering a lot of questions, repeated questions, if it can just be recorded once and of course kept up to date. That proves to be very effective. And sometimes appraisers and the public are more receptive to that. As mentioned, the new generation, they just want to click on a video and get a 2-minute summary of what's important. So I think that's really going to help. I know you have to have somebody on staff that's willing to do that. Of course, you can get it paid after. I know I've had communication recently about the website. I understand that you're updating the website. I would just tell you that you're never going to get it perfect. And I would say just go ahead and release it with the updates that you've got. You can always continuously update it. I think I've been hearing that the website is being updated for a year. I think it's time. So that's the end of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments in the room? All right, so with that, we will go to online, and Anne, please let us know if there are any online comments.
All right, thank you very much. If anyone would like to make a comment on any of these 3 questions about communication with stakeholders, you can raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon. That's typically at the bottom of your computer screen, or if you're on a mobile device, it may be behind the 3-dot other options. And if you are a call-in user, you can press *3 to raise your hand. If none of those options are working for you, then you are welcome to open up the chat and provide your comment there, or you can use the QR code in that corner of the slide right now to open up the survey, and you can contribute your comments there. And we have a hand raised from Neil Leffman. Neil, I'm going to send you the request to unmute, and you do have the freedom to use your camera if you'd like.
In terms of resources to support appraisers, you may have fixed this by now, but the last time that I recall sending my renewal application in, it was quite frustrating that it was a paper process. It seems like in the modern world, BREA was about the only entity that was still trapped in the old days. So that seems like it would be a real financial boon to automate any and all processes that could be done. And secondly, I just want to suggest that BREA carefully investigate the potential for artificial intelligence to assist in, as one example, all of the information on your website, even USPAP, could potentially be loaded into a large language model that could be queried by visitors to the website with answers provided. I know there are always some risks and concerns, but just thinking outside the box in terms of ways to become leaner, I suppose, is the best way to say that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. And are there any other comments on the, Lourdes Russert? I'll send you a request to unmute. And again, you are free to use a camera if you choose. Go ahead.
Thank you. I also want to make a comment that I love the new website. I've been on the BREA website a lot, and I could see that it's a lot more user friendly. It does highlight things that you're looking for, and the fact that it does have the BRAE Basics tab is extremely helpful. The newsletter is, Joe had mentioned the usefulness of the newsletter, and I agree with that. I don't know if the newsletter is still being sent out to appraisers or it's landing in my spam, but I don't recall getting newsletters anymore from BREA. So I go to the website to look at the newsletters and the archive. It has good information in terms of deficiencies found, specifically like example for the cost approach that's helpful to educators. So we strongly encourage specific articles on what you're finding as deficient, common deficiencies, to help appraisers know what they need to work on and improve on. With regards to additional information or resources, I would like to suggest that this type of town hall become a more normal part of BRA to gather input from stakeholders, maybe once a year, to hear from appraisers, AMCs, or other stakeholders would also be good. And maybe creating an advisory council where you can get input from appraisers, AMC, lenders, underwriters, to allow a forum for common discussions and concerns to be discussed among the stakeholders, and avoid one-sided discussion that does not go anywhere. Creating such a council can meet like once a quarter or something, so that there's regular structured input that BRA is getting from all the stakeholders that is of common interest to the lending or non-lending or licensing issues that we confront. That's it pretty much for me. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And our next request is from Eric Roman. Eric, I'm sending you the request to unmute. And you're unmuted, Eric. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I hadn't heard it mentioned before, so I just wanted to comment that I really appreciate the statistics that are involved in the numbers provided in the newsletter regarding licensing, number of people that take the tests, number of licensed professionals in the different categories of licensing. It's something that I track on my own. The Appraisal Institute does a really good job of providing statistics from a profession-wide basis, but it's always nice to know what's happening here in beautiful California compared to the rest of the nation. And it's one of the things that got me to be more involved in issues like attending this webinar, being alarmed at the fact that there are now fewer than 3,000 certified general appraisers in California, and watching that number drop. So it does have an impact, and I would appreciate continuing to be able to see those statistics about number of licensees in different categories as we go forward. Thanks. That ends my comment.
All right. Thank you very much. And our next commenter is Greg Migdale. Greg, I'll send you the request to unmute, and you may turn your camera on if you choose to. And you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Alrighty. Not really sure why the video's not working, but that's fair enough. I just wanted to reiterate what's been said before. I think that this sort of venue is tremendously valuable. I really appreciate it. I think that so many appraisers really operate in a bubble. It might be a small bubble of just one person in their house. It might be a larger bubble, but they're still bubbles. And so having the opportunity for appraisers to talk with the BREA officials and to gain insight from each other, I think is tremendously valuable. And I would just like to see more of this on a quarterly basis. I think would be very helpful for people to come together and air their differences and their opinions. As a group, I think that appraisers have a great deal of insight into our profession. And even when we disagree, there's a lot to learn from each other and from BREA. So thank you for putting on this fantastic meeting, and I hope to see more of them. Thank you much.
Thank you for your comment. And at this point, I believe there are no further raised hands. Brea, did you have additional topics to introduce if you ran short of comments?
So I'm seeing and that we're ready for the very last item, which is comments on items not on the agenda. So the keyword there is comments. Again, this is not a time to ask questions or start a discussion, but if you have a comment that you'd like to make that's not on the agenda, please come to the table. We'll start again in the room, and you can come to the table and speak your comment.
They include follow-up. Is that good? All right. Jim, I'm beating you to the punch. Again, John Bingman. So there's been several comments regarding mock appraisals. I think for most of us, we understand what that means. Full disclosure, my daughter is a trainee in the Lone Star State with her own supervisors. She's encouraged so as to not take on a traditional assignment where the appraiser is earning the fee, etc. To take advantage of the AQB real property requirements that read, there need not be a client in a traditional sense in order for the appraisal to qualify for experience. Experience gained for work without a traditional client can meet any portion of the total experience requirement. In other words, she can do her own drive-by exterior-only appraisals on pick a listing in any neighborhood, or the supervisor can do that, or a family member or a friend for either an exterior-only or a traditional appraisal, which requires her interior inspection, and gain hours in that way. And so she's encouraged to do that at least once a week. And again, that counts towards her hours. In fact, that went from 50% from the AQB to 100% in 2022. So there's that. I've had the discussion or been part of the discussion around evals going back to licensing. And I heard the state regulators at a regulatory conference talk about evals as though they're a new thing. They're outside of the purview of BREA to begin with at this point in time, and they occur at 6 to 8 times the pace of an appraisal. And so it's happening. I don't know how many complaints you're getting from consumers related to those, but I would imagine based on the state response and informal survey, it's pretty small. But again, I would make the argument that appraisers are best suited for that. Again, kudos to Angela and the rest of BREA for putting this on. I think it's pretty cool. A great opportunity to share. And along with Joe's comments regarding the newsletter, I think it is hugely advantageous without disclosing who the parties involved are, but to understand your focus and understand where the mishaps are taking place in the market is helpful and meaningful to appraisers to kind of key in on those areas to say, oh, gee. And I say that because in past you did that.
30 seconds.
Your disciplinary action. So again, thank you all so much for your time today and listening. Appreciate it.
Okay. Any other comments for items not on the agenda? Okay, so with that, Anne, I'll turn it to you. Are there any comments online for items not on the agenda?
Thank you. If anyone would like to make a comment on anything, you can look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. And if you're on a mobile device, you might have to hit the 3-dot other options in order to get to that hand raise icon. And our call-in users can press *3 to raise their hands. And we will be still giving 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. So Anne Marie, I see you've got a hand up. I've sent you a request to unmute.
Thank Thank you again for letting me speak. I guess I do have a lot to say because in being in this industry for 40 years, I am just really dismayed. I so appreciate this platform because I feel like I'm finally being heard. And I'm looking at the comments as well. There was just one other thing that I forgot to ask about, and it's regulations of certain lenders that have decided that you should live within 10 miles of a property. I think this is a ridiculous requirement, and I think that there should be some sort of legislation or regulation on this, because if you lived somewhere else before and you know something, you, the appraiser, should be able to pick out your geographic competence and be in compliance with USPAP that way. Not that somebody's decided that, oh, somebody lives 5 miles away from this property or 2 miles. And I do quote this as there was something recently that I was asked to do for an AMC that I don't generally work with, but they had used that mile radius, and this appraiser, oh, well, that's just a month ago, appraised this property probably by about 900,000 over market because they were new in the industry and shouldn't have been appraising this jumbo complex type of product. It just seems that a lot of these regulations that AMCs have put upon us, like where we're located at, turn time, whatever, is just really ruined our industry. And I really think that we should probably bring an end to AMC, since the person that really suggested this legislation in the first place is a corrupt politician that is no longer with us. I think that licensing should hold something, and so should experience. And I appreciate your time and letting me vent. I feel like the first time I've been able to vent in a long time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let's see, we do have a request to comment from Ann O'Rourke. Ann, I'm going to send you the request to unmute. And you're welcome to use your camera if you have one. And Ann O'Rourke should be able to click the mute and unmute button at the bottom of your web. There you go, you're unmuted. Perfect. Go ahead. Oops, now you're muted again. I'm sorry.
She's still muted. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
No?
perfect.
Okay, well, I just pushed the wrong button. I haven't ever used this software before.
Right.
Okay, I'm a certified general appraiser. This is my 50th year of appraising. I started with the assessor at Butte County Assessor's Office, which was a great place to work, 1975. I might have talked about this above when you were looking for more appraisers, new appraisers, but I have an idea for how to keep existing appraisers from quitting. What it is a partial solution. What you do is you give them, I think it's called you put your license on hold or something like that. Because I hear from appraisers all the time, I haven't had a job in 6 months, I'm losing my license, I'm not renewing. But when that happens, you only have 1 year to come back. But if you have, other states do have this, because I have friends that have taken this option. So you can put your license on hold and then come back at any time. And there's going to be a lot of, when rates go down, there's going to be a severe shortage of appraisers, residential lender appraisers, a big shortage. And then, put your license on hold. And then I just had kind of a final comment here, and that's about what licensing was like before. I mean, there was no licensing. It was great. There was no state regulators, no appraisal foundation, no appraisal subcommittee, and we all knew what to do. It was like a little club is what it was. Anyway, that's all I have to say on that. But I would be applying for it myself to put it on hold. So personal.
All right.
I don't need a license because it's non-mandatory, but it's expensive to keep the license because of the CE requirements, and people they just don't have any money. They don't have any money to renew. They don't have any money to pay for the renewal, and they don't have the money for the CE. So I think that would be I don't know if anybody thought about it before, but I have thought about it quite a bit. So that's it for me.
Thank you very much for your comments. All right, and let's see. Next up is Jacques. And Jacques, I'm going to make you a panelist so you can use your camera. And I'm going to go ahead and send you the unmute request. And you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Jacques. I have been appraising for almost 3 or 4 years, so I'm representing, I guess, the younger side. And I don't know if this was discussed, but I was pretty disappointed with the initial application process, and I don't know if it's changed in the last 2 years, but completely agree it should not be paper mailed. It should definitely be an online process. It also shouldn't take 5 to 6 months for the whole process to be completed. I think that's such a high barrier at this time when trainees make very little money, and you're really preventing them from getting their feet under, getting paid and getting their feet under them when they're starting this profession. I think it's a huge burden Brea is placing on these trainees. So my, suggestion would be just like a simple portal where you could communicate with whoever's reviewing your application, and comments could be made rather than emails that may or may not be replied to. And, I got a phone call, you missed that phone call, you have no idea when you're getting called back, you don't know if your voicemail is being received. I think just having a portal where you can just simply upload your files and then people can comment, and an easy interaction can occur between you and the reviewer, as well as uploading files could take 5 seconds, not 5 days, through the mail, would just be so convenient. But those are just my suggestions. That's kind of all I have. Thanks, guys, and thanks for putting this together.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right. Our next commenter is Bob Wojtovich. And Bob, I'm going to try to make you a panelist and see if that helps your tech issues. Let's see. So I've sent you a request to unmute. And Bob Wojtovich, do you see the mute and unmute button at the bottom of your screen? Because that should let you unmute yourself. And I'll send you one more reminder or option pop up. There you go, you're unmuted. Yeah, you could speak a little louder, but we can hear you. Okay. It's okay. Do your best.
Okay. Sorry, I've had something for a while, but I just feel in total control of our, from
Oh, I really can't understand. I'm sorry, the audio is really not great. Is there a way you might be able to get into the chat and type your question?
Yeah, you still can't hear me too well?
I'm sorry, what?
You can't hear it too well?
Oh, that sentence I heard okay.
Hear now? Hello?
Yes, much better. Okay, fantastic. If you could start over, thank you.
Sorry. I told them to the next time a microphone. What I was trying to, can you hear me?
Like kind of.
I can have a say that we're not being in full control of the appraisal process. And I feel that we are really looking to really talking control. And employees are going to, they basically control the ordering process, the dissemination of the report, and the payment process. And then which is totally unfair practice. We need to stand up and either that's We do the lion's share of the work, and the AMC takes the lion's share of those.
Yeah. I'm sorry. This is the sound quality is really garbled. We can't hear you. But if you do have access to the chat, you're more than welcome to use that. It's really hard to hear.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much. Sorry about the tech issue, but we do hope that you'll put your comment in the chat. All right. And then, yeah, we do have the survey that everyone can complete also, so you could do that. Are there any other comments for items that were not on the agenda? And you can use the raise hand button, which is at the bottom of your computer screen or behind the 3-dot other options. And calling users, that would be typing *3 on your phone. Let's go to Lourdes Russert.
Hi, I just want to make a comment. The GSEs is launching a totally new reporting form, the new URAR and new UAD 3.6 that will have ramifications to the appraisers on the lending side. And I know just based on some of the classes we've held at REA, that a lot of the tenured appraisers may not want to undertake the more extensive amount of data that they have to provide on the appraisal reporting form required under the UAD 3.6. And frankly, by looking at the data, the old pricing points for appraisals will not work because there's simply more information that you have to collect than you have done in the past. So that's something to think about, because this is fairly significant change that will impact probably the number of appraisers that would continue to renew their license in the future. I don't know what the solution will be, but that's something to consider that's happening right now.
Great. Good information to have. Thank you. And let's see. I think I saw a hand raise and it went back down again. If anyone would like to make any other comments.
I have a question, one comment.
Okay, please come forward. So, Anne, we have a gentleman in the room that would like to make a comment.
Okay, and we have one then extra online as well after him.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Ronald Smith. I'm a certified appraiser. My license is not current at the time right now. Also the owner of Benchmark Appraisal Service. I came here with the intent to just observe, but I have something I think is important to say. It seems like the lenders don't have a lot of incentive to use good appraisers. They have a lot of incentive to use a poor appraiser. If he turns in a poor appraisal, if it's in their favor, they'll go with it until it defaults and then point out that it's a poor appraisal. But when an appraiser does what he's supposed to do, they'll tend not to use him. I think that the GSCs should have a list of appraisers that they have all the data already on appraisers who are doing good work. They should have a list of those. And if you're a lender and you do so many appraisals, you should have a certain percentage that you select your appraiser from this list. And that way, if an appraiser does something that it should have been done in the appraisal, and the lender goes to him and says, we don't want this in the appraisal, the alternative for the appraiser is not to receive work from that lender anymore. But if he's on a list from the GSEs, and the GSEs are saying you have to use these guys, then he gets his fee. It turns everything around. You'll get a lot better product. That's just a comment that I had, and I hope it's helpful.
Thank you. All right, Anne, so back to you online.
Yes, sorry, I just thought of one other thing here, because I've been beta testing the 3.6 form for the last 2 years, and I do realize it's going to be a huge problem for people that are technology challenged, because you really do need to understand how to use a tablet, and a lot of our aging appraisers just have never done that. And anyway, my problem though with the 3-6 form, and I don't know how we can address this or what, is in the state of California, the assessor's records don't go on ANSI guidelines. We don't count the square footage on the second, third level for staircases, yet this form forces me and the new GSEs to use ANSI guidelines. I wish that we could have a voice against that, because it seems that my comps then are less square footage than what I've actually measured, because I don't know what these other ones are, because we don't follow the same guidelines as what this new form and Fannie Mae is asking us to do. And I just wondered if there was a way that we could, there is some talk about ANSI and not always agreeing with it. And I was wondering if it could be a voice against it, since our state doesn't follow those guidelines.
All right, thank you for your comment. And so I think this would be my last call. If anyone would like to make a comment on something that's been on your mind that is not on the agenda, that's related to the Bureau. Otherwise, I believe I can turn this back over to Chief Jamaat to wrap things up.
Wow, this has been some day, yes? I know that I heard it over and over that this has been good for you. You haven't had a chance to be heard. And that was exactly what we purely wanted it to be, that you were able to be heard, to be seen in the sense that Bria and every leadership possible could hear it on every angle of discussion point could be brought to the table. And that's what we had hoped for this to accomplish. And I hope you feel that you were able to do that. We know how important it is, and this is why we came together today, to be able to be a part and connected to the stakeholders in the industry themselves, the members of this community of serving California. And we are obligated to do as much as we can in terms of communications, in terms of education, in terms of our system, internal system processes, to ensure that we're giving the best we can to serve you. And so that's what we hope to do in terms of our next 5 years as we build our strategic plan to take the most high priority topics and issues that you brought, along with our goals and objectives that have been presented to us by the legislation. So with that said, don't feel that this will be the last. You're like, oh, when are they gonna do this again? Yes, this was the first, but it's not going to be the last, for sure. We're excited to do this, and we're so excited that at one point there was over 200 people on this line. And not to minimize you who came in, because we're glad to see you physically here, because that means a lot to us, that you took the time to use gas or electricity out of your car to come here today. So we thank you, those who came in person, and all of you who participated online. With that said, we do have the opportunity for you, because it was 280, over 200, about almost 300 people. We know that you might have something that you wanted to say, maybe whatever technology or abilities you didn't get a chance to do that. There's a survey, we want to pull that up right now, that has the survey question, and this is a twofold. I'll just be transparent. We want to get to know who you are as well. So the survey, so everyone who has a phone in their hands can, in the room I'm speaking to, and those who have opportunity to pull up your phones online to answer the question. Because the first part of it is just find out who you are, where you're from, what part of the industry do you represent, or the community. If you're not appraiser yourself, let us know. And then also and I heard a couple times, use me as a subject matter expert. Indeed, we've done that already in my history tenure. I've been here since March of 2022, and we have utilized subject matter experts for various occasions. First year, we pulled together educational symposium, and we pulled in subject matter experts from the industry, from the education field. We utilized the strength of California to help you do a better job. We also have pulled together subject matter experts when we start looking at the practicum. And we brought those subject matter experts to the space and brought them to help us understand. And we will continue to use subject matter experts. So I'll be honest with you, I am looking for more subject matter experts, those who you are interested in be a part of working with BREA, because this is not us against them. We are committed to being together and working together with you to help our state, our nation, because honestly, we have done many things. As Chief Deputy of Enforcement Tina has mentioned, that we've started things ahead of many times the nation, and others has followed. We were the first to actually bring some of the bias topic to the nation in law, which brought us to the DC. They invited California to come to DC because of that. I want you to know we are doing our best to serve this nation as well. So with that said, the survey is there, and we also, the BREA website, there is an information email. So if you're like, oh, this box is too small, don't worry. You can email us at any time and share your thoughts and comments. We welcome them. Even if you're saying, Angela, I got some bones to pick, no worries. We accept all questions and comments because we are here to help bridge any issues that we can. We don't have a magic wand to solve all problems, but we'll do our best to serve in the capacity that we have been given authority to do so. So again, I want to thank our moderator online, Tricia, and there was a lot of work back and forth in trying to work through this, and we value Department of Consumer Affairs, and as well as behind the scenes, Shelly's behind, like the what's that movie, Wizard of Oz? She's behind the screen. Shelly stays there, but she's been helping us all along the way, and we thank Shelly for all the work she's done and serving, helping us technically as well as details out. So thank you all. Thank you for coming, and we look forward to continue communications from this point on and going forward. Thank you.